are alleged to have plotted to harm the chairpersons of the Electoral Commission and the National Peace Council.
The two accused former NDC party executives filed a submission of no case on November 24, 2022, after the prosecution closed its case, having called 3 witnesses. It was their submission that the prosecution witnesses were unable to prove the charges against them, so the court should acquit and discharge them. However, the presiding judge, Justice Samuel Esiedu, ruled that the prosecution was able to establish a prima facie case against them. He said there is evidence on record in respect of the charges against them, which the court is satisfied with. The court therefore concluded that it is prudent and proper that the accused persons open their defense. Mr. Ofosu-Ampofo has also been charged with assault for allegedly inciting NDC communicators against the chairpersons of the EC and National Peace Council.
Leadership of the various political parties in the country have expressed commitment to promote peaceful coexistence among parties, political actors and institutions ahead of the 2024 general election. At a meeting with the National Peace Council in Accra, the parties denounced the violent incidents that occurred in the 2020 general election, which led to loss of lives, and pledged to work together to forestall a repetition of such incidents. The parties, however, called on government and the security agencies to expedite action on the arrest and prosecution of individuals who perpetrated the violence in the last election to serve as a deterrent to others. The parties that were present at the meeting were the National Democratic Congress NDC, New Patriotic Party NPP, Convention People's Party CPP, People's National Convention PNC, Progressive People's Party PPP and the All People's Congress APC. President Akufo-Addo has appointed Air Vice Marshal Frederick Asari Kwesi-Bequin as the Chief of Air Staff. He replaces Air Vice Frank Hansen, who has completed his tour of duty and retired from the Ghana Armed Forces. His appointment took effect from Thursday, January 26, 2023. A statement issued and signed by the Director of Communications at the Presidency, Mr. Eugene Ahin, said the President expressed his gratitude to Air Vice Frank Hansen for his dedicated and meritorious service to the Ghana Armed Forces and the nation, and wished him well in his retirement. The second edition of a conference series on microbial genomics and drug resistance has been held in Accra. It examined the effect of uncontrolled use of antibiotics during the peak of COVID-19 in the last 2 years and how it contributed to antimicrobial resistance.
Azithromycin was one potent antibiotic administered as a curative measure against COVID-19. During the peak of the viral infection, the drug was widely obtained and administered without prescription and caution for therapeutic purposes. This further heightened the incidence of antimicrobial resistance, which is now described as a pandemic on the continent.
We are in a part of the world where antibiotics is called Tupaye. And we put antibiotics in everything, including palm wine. And people take antibiotics even after going to chalk baths to clear any bacteria which is around. And that is becoming even more important post-COVID and also during the COVID. Because now, some very important antibiotics like azithromycin that people didn't even know before are being self-prescribed. I prescribe by anybody, any prescriber. I also prescribe by non-prescribers, and are sold over the counter in every corner of the country.
The widespread abuse was attributed to a number of factors.
Reasons for the growing threat of AMR include poor enforcement of regulatory framework on antimicrobial use, limited diagnostic and research structures that encourage prescription policies based on observations rather than laboratory reports, and suboptimal antibiotic supply chain policies.
Addressing the second edition of a conference series on microbial genomics and drug resistance, focusing on antimicrobial resistance in the era of the COVID-19 pandemic, the renowned cardiothoracic surgeon and chair of the Presidential Vaccine Manufacture and Production Committee, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, elaborated on an age-old intervention and alternative to antibiotics known as bacteriophage. It is a virus that eats only bacteria cells found abundantly on Earth.
Sanitation of equipment and surfaces. They use phage material. Then apply to raw meat and produce. That one, they use that. And use as the preservatives to prolong the shelf life of all sorts of things. And then reduction of pathogens in intensively reared livestock. These are areas where you find the West applying bacteriophage research. As far as COVID is concerned, in two areas, one can apply bacteriophage therapy. One, to reduce or slow down bacterial growth, and also to use the phage as a template to produce synthetic antibodies.
A former chief pharmacist at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Martha Jansa-Luttrot, said the time has come to control antimicrobial resistance to avert the crisis of bacterial infections that cannot be cured. The conference is the brain of the Department of Medical Microbiology of the University of Ghana Medical School. Serofuri, GBC News, Accra.
You're still with us on News Hour. The plan is that by 2030, all Ghanaians should have access to high-quality services that are included in the Universal Health Coverage Package of Care. To actualize this, the National Health Insurance Scheme is seen as one of the key ways to help achieve this. CSOs in health are therefore calling for more political will and resources to meet the 2030 targets and make health care accessible to all, irrespective of gender and creed.
Universal health coverage, UHC, is to ensure that all persons have access to the full range of quality health services they need, whenever the need arises and without financial hardship. It covers the full range of essential health services, from health promotions to prevention, treatment, rehabilitation and palliative care. The National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS, which is to support this drive of equal access to health care and the attainment of the UHC 2030 target, has since 2022 had 55% coverage. However, the NHIS 80-80-20 target of having at least 80% of Ghanaians enrolled on the scheme, 80% of all disease burden put on the scheme, and 20% of total health spending to the scheme to be of out-of-pocket by 2030 is yet to be achieved. Though 55% coverage of the first 80% has so far been achieved, the 20% out-of-pocket payment currently stands at 36.22%, which authorities believe must be reduced in order to attain the UHC by 2030.
And so we believe, from the perspective of the NHIS, that with these committees at all the levels of our operations, we are really going to work on it so that in no time out-of-pocket payment, or what people call co-payment, will be a thing of the past.
A network of practice for primary health care in Ghana, where CHIPS compounds will be attached to health facilities in the districts, telemedicine, as well as reviewing of the national referral policy, are also strategies by the Ministry of Health towards attaining the UHC 2030 target in Ghana.
We are very sure if we are able to implement all these policies and then the interventions that are being proposed, we will be able to achieve UAC for the people of Ghana by 2030. And don't forget, we are saying that UAC for Ghana means that all people in Ghana have timely access to high quality health services irrespective of ability to pay at the point of use. And that is what we want to, or that is where we want to get to by 2030.
At a forum organized by the Alliance for Reproductive Health Rights, AFRHR, to discuss the way forward on these strategies after disruptions of health systems by the COVID-19 pandemic, CSOs in health and gender called for more engagement, transparency, resources and political will from government to achieve the set target for the UHC.
One key thing we want government to look at is to look at the Abuja Declaration. It mandates that governments that have signed on to the declaration dedicate at least 15% of the national budget to the health sector. As we speak, we are between 8.2 to 8.4%. Health delivery should now be looked at it as a developmental issue, one that must be the concern of all sectors, so that it will go beyond the attention of the health sector, and then everybody will come on board.
Stakeholders say strengthening health systems through strong primary health care is crucial to make the needed progress.
5 people have reportedly died after eating a meal of rice and beans, popularly known as wache, they bought from a food joint at Oyibi Bush Canteen Junction in Accra. About 40 people were reportedly affected, out of which 5, including a pregnant woman and a lotto vendor, died. The victims, including the wache seller, popularly known as Yellow Sisi, and some of her family members were rushed to the Valley View Hospital, Oyibi Hospital, Dodowa Hospital, and other facilities when they complained of severe stomach aches after they had eaten the food last week Friday. Hospital officials could not provide enough information as to the number of people who might have been affected, but only indicated that the data from the hospital had been forwarded to the Katamanso District Hospital, where further investigation is ongoing to ascertain the cause of the problem. The Yellow Sisi Wache joint is considered to be one of the popular food joints at Oyibi Bush Canteen. Meanwhile, the Food and Drugs Authority says it is investigating the facts of the matter and would issue a release soon. Kidney patients in the Upper East region either choose to travel to Tamale Teaching Hospital for treatment or risk losing their lives. This is because no dialysis services are offered at the regional hospital in Bolgatanga. Stakeholders, including the media, have therefore set in motion a campaign to have the facility established in the region. A report by Peter Gengre.
Even though the regional hospital in Bolgatanga is the major referral health facility serving the people of the area and some districts in the northeast and parts of Burkina Faso, the hospital remains the only regional referral facility without a dialysis center. Of the number of people who had kidney-related conditions and needed long-term hemodialysis services, only a few could afford to travel to Tamale or Wa for dialysis services. In a campaign to get the facility established in the region, a physician specialist at the regional hospital in Bolgatanga, Dr. Emmanuel Akatibo, said the dialysis center is a necessity in the region.
As at last year, we had more than 30 cases of kidney failure cases, both acute and chronic kidney disease. And a good number of them needed dialysis in order to keep them alive or to help the kidneys to be able to recover and work on its own. But at least if the service is available, you are able to convince them. And most of them, when you do the dialysis for them, 3 to 4 sessions, the kidneys are able to recover.
The Ghana Journalists Association in the region has also joined the campaign. It hopes that government and individuals can donate towards its establishment.
Media call on the nation, individuals, organizations to support the cause of providing a dialysis center for the region.
GBC News visited the Upper East Regional Minister, Mr. Stephen Yakubu, who also pledged his support to the campaign. Mr. Yakubu was not happy that dialysis services were not available at the referral facility, and which has resulted in avoidable deaths.
I think if you are out there and you can contribute or support us to buy this, please let us know, because we are in dire need of it.
Since March 2022, the Department of Internal Medicine has recorded over 30 kidney failure cases that needed dialysis to allow for the kidneys to recover. Hospital authorities, the media, and the Regional Coordinating Council are therefore appealing for support from individuals, charity organizations, business establishment, and government to urgently come to the aid of the hospital in their desire to set up a dialysis center. Donations can be made to the following account details. Account name: Regional Hospital Pooled Donut Fund. NIB account number 110-304-018-9101, Bolgatanga branch. The target amount for the project is 813,900 Ghana cedis, or $67,825 US. Peter Agengre reporting for GBC News.
Almost all the teaching hospitals and public health facilities no longer run blood culture tests for lack of logistics. Such tests, which used to be run by these facilities, are now being run by private laboratories whose data are not accessible, hence compromises on the national surveillance of antimicrobial resistance in bloodstream infections in the country. A medical microbiologist at the University of Ghana Medical School, the principal investigator at the International Center for Antibiotics Resistance Solutions, Professor Japheth Opintan, in an interview with GBC News, elaborates on the gaps identified in the course to mitigate antimicrobial resistance.
Blood and like other body fluids are supposed to be sterile. So if you have organisms feeding the sterile fluids like blood, then it means that you have infection. So if you can have any type of infection, it could be pneumonia or whatever it is. If the organisms feed the blood, then you need blood culture investigation to be done. And this will be what will guide the clinician to appropriately address your infection. If we also talk about blood cultures, and we are looking at the category of people who need blood cultures, at least everybody, all ages will need blood cultures to be done. But typically for children less than 1 year old, they will typically require these blood cultures to be done for them. And it's basically because they have weak immune system, they are that susceptible to various types of infection. So blood cultures typically helps the clinician to manage the patient very well with infection. Currently, as a country, I don't think we are doing very well, because when you pick most of the government facilities, the teaching hospitals, the regional hospitals, and even some district hospitals, yes, they are performing some sort of culture, but not necessarily for blood cultures. So they may be doing, for example, urine cultures. They may be doing stool cultures, or they will be doing cultures for other swabs. And it's just because of logistics. The blood culture bottles that are required to provide these services for most of the facilities, at the moment as we speak, they are not procuring the blood culture bottles for the labs to perform this kind of specialized services. Most of the facilities are supposed to be running these services themselves. They are supposed to be buying the bottles for themselves and the rest. But they are not adequately doing it because the costs involved, in most cases, cannot be passed on to the patient. So if they are performing the blood culture services, what it will mean is that they are somehow losing even before they start. If government can come in, the hospitals probably procure these bottles directly from, example, the medical stores, for example, like we have for the pharmacy and the rest, I think it will be useful. It is not only the blood culture bottles that are needed. You also need the antibiotic susceptibility discs to be able to also perform the susceptibility test, which would also accompany this test. And as we speak now, for most of the facilities, they don't have the logistics involved to perform the susceptibility testing. So we are losing a lot as a country in terms of data. For children under 1 year, if we don't do prompt diagnosis to manage those patients, it means we would also be losing such patients. Additionally, if, for example, the clinician is treating the patient empirically, meaning that it's not based on, or the organism has not been identified, but just pure knowledge of what we know, which may not be the case, it means also that we may be pumping unnecessary antibiotics into the system, which is cost to the patient, cost to the facility, cost to the country as well. The analytical phase also, for example, is that if you don't have the right logistics to be performing the test, it means that your results are not or will not be accurate. We cannot reproduce it. And when we come to the post-analytical phase also, that
the urgent request from Atika Gome in the Sene East District of the Bono East region to government through the Ministry of Education is for a basic school. They made the appeal when the Bono East Regional Director, Mrs. Efuamwa, visited the area to commiserate with the bereaved families of the 8 children who got drowned in the Volta Lake when the boat they were traveling on to school capsized. From Bono East, Samuel Ayama tells us more.
There are about 10 Island communities in the Sene East District, including Atika Gome community. The residents complain about the lack of stakeholders' concern about their predicament and continued deprivation of basic social amenities. The Assemblyman for Old Nkomi electoral area, Mr. Nathan Buffalo, appealed for urgent intervention from government to provide Atika Gome community with a basic school.
Mimi here say abanti ne no mbehwe school e wo Island Muso.
A resident of Atika Gome, Mr. Kinsley Alta, who lost his 2 granddaughters in the boat accident, said it is critical for government to provide them with a basic school. Mr. Patrick Owusu is the NAT secretary for Sene West and Sene East districts.
Our target is on the teachers. We're looking at what has happened. Our next target is to provide additional life jackets. After the teachers have used it, the extra ones, the kids can also be use them.
The Sene East Director of Education, Mr. Ahmed Nasir Ibrahim, appealed to government for a boat powered by an engine to carry teachers and pupils either way, whilst looking for a lasting solution to the issue.
If the government could get us one boat at the shore, like the help people are having, it will help us. We can also use it to take the children who are at a very small population and they will still be committing to help them to go.
The Bono East Regional Director of Education, Mrs. Efuamwa, expressed her deepest condolences to the bereaved families and pledged to support the effort towards getting the Atika Gome community a basic school.
Information I have gathered so far indicates that we should help to establish a school in the island where there is no school, because they have enough children there who can be in school. So going forward, I'll wait for the recommendations from the District Director of Education, but I know this is the first one, that a school must be started as soon as possible to allow the children on that island to be able to attend school and not be commuting every day.
The Sene East District has 10 Island basic schools. Samuel Ayama, GBC News, Sene East.
Kwabre East Municipality in the Ashanti region is now the focus of government in terms of road construction. Roads in the municipality would experience marked improvement within 2 years from now. The Minister for Roads and Highways, Mr. Kwesi Amoako-Attah, gave the assurance when he inspected ongoing construction works on some roads at Kenyase in the Kwabre East municipality.
During his Ashanti regional tour in October last year, President Akufo-Addo, while responding to concerns about the bad roads in the Kwabre East municipality during a radio interview, acknowledged that inhabitants of the area were not happy about the situation. He then indicated that they would get their share of attention from the Ministry of Roads and Highways. During his working visit to Ashanti region this week, the Roads Minister, Mr. Kwesi Amoako-Attah, went to Kenyase, one of the key communities within the municipality. Among the roads being given a facelift in the municipality is the 4.7-kilometer Jidim area stretch being built by Nakpo Construction. The Ashanti Regional Director of Urban Roads said about 30 kilometers of roads within the Kwabre East municipality is to be upgraded between now and September next year. The Deputy Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Madam Francisca Oten-Mensah, who is also the MP for the area, was grateful and happy about government's attention to roads in the area.
If you look at the start of work here, it should tell you that within a few months, there should be a lot of results that we should expect. And so we want to encourage other areas, most especially Antwa, Mamponting, and Tonso. I can't mention all the communities, that they should also have faith that indeed we are also going to commence work there as soon as possible.
The Ashanti Regional Minister, Mr. Simon Osei-Mensah, denied speculations that the Jidim Road project is being financed by a private individual resident in Kenyase. He emphasized that it is a Government of Ghana funded project.
Ekwana free Kenyase eko fawade no enye onipa baaku bi na eye aban na eye na onam Department of Federal Rules na eye kwan no.
The Roads Minister, Mr. Kwesi Amoako-Attah, assured the chiefs and people in the municipality that government is within this year giving maximum attention to roads within the municipality.
Between now and the close of the year, the chiefs and the people of this constituency will see the level of road improvement that is going to take place here.
49-year-old Francis Lechu is seeking financial support to complete treatment for a medical condition doctors call hemoperitoneum. Per documentation he presented to GBC News from the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, the surgery will cost 7,500 cedis, and Mr. Lechu will be able to finalize his treatment and appeals for your support. Viewers are warned that some of the pictures might be graphic.
What you see in that plastic receptacle is the fecal matter of Mr. Francis Lechu, which has been diverted from his anus through his stomach. It goes with him everywhere he goes. As an electrician, Mr. Lechu says he began to experience severe stomach pains some 3 years ago and sought medical attention at a hospital in Domiabra near Kaswa. He was later referred to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, and upon series of tests, he was diagnosed with hemoperitoneum, which basically is a type of internal bleeding in which blood gathers in the patient's peritoneal cavity. 2 surgeries were conducted to save him. It's been more than a year since Mr. Lechu was asked to go back for the final surgery, a procedure which will ensure that he passes through the normal way.
This me which is here, toilet no, the super glue, and I'm ready my body, and I'm ready with rubber no, as so.
He tells GBC News that he's now cooped to his room as the odor of feces on him makes it difficult to interact with people.
Sometimes I'm not sent, a band is a month for go baby cry, mean to me call on my chain. They be an amic Timmy. So be friend me cry, say, member, yeah, I Jumami man cry, say, even my tattoo cry. The way I sent I want me home to
Mr. Francis Lechu's plea is that individuals and groups will come to his aid. Kindly donate to MTN Momo number 0247 467301, 0247 467301, registered in the name of Francis Lechu. No amount is too small.
As always, we are counting on your benevolence to support 49-year-old Francis Lechu. Reporting for GBC News. Gifty Ajayi, Accra.
We'll do some business news after this break.
Dealing with the filth in Accra. The gutters are choked with garbage.
Me, Esther Edu Ohumeru. 100 trainees in the Youth and Export Program are to start training with their mentors to have in-depth knowledge on all modules of exportation. The second cohort of trainees are expected to be equipped to carve a niche for themselves in their fields of production and become relevant on the international market after 6 months of mentorship. The Youth and Exports Program, YIEP, has been designed to attract the youth into the agriculture, arts and crafts value chain to prepare them for the export sector. The program is also meant to help bridge the wide unemployment gap and provide an avenue for the trainees to contribute towards Ghana's export revenues. The second phase of the program brought mentors from various sectors of the export value chain from the Eastern, Central, Northern and Upper East regions. The 100 trainees in the second phase are made up of 55 males and 45 females. This constitutes a significant improvement over the 16 men and 4 women's situation in the first phase. A Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Mr. Sam Dintu, said the Youth and Export Program is one of the flagship initiatives of GEPA and is expected to receive funding from USAID and the Ghana Trade and Investment Program.
The National Export Development Strategy sits on about 3 pillars. One is the supply capacity improvement. Second is also cultivating the human capacity for export. So this project sits on 2 of the NET's pillars, and we are really excited about it. The Export Development Strategy says that in the next few years we need to be able to rake in 25.3 billion. It is no mean a target, but we believe that with programs like this we will be able to achieve it if we nurture them and then we give the exporting community the right capacity. We should be able to achieve it. Yeah.
A trainee, Mr. Richard So, said he is ready to be mentored to enable him to export successfully to the international market. To aid their mentoring sessions, the trainees were presented with tools such as Wellington boots, rigs and goggles. Depending on their specific fields of training, some would also be given stipend, irrigation facilities and parcels of land during their mentoring session to prepare them for the export market. Government has reached an agreement with the Ghana Securities Industry Association to sign up for the Domestic Debt Exchange Program. The association's terms are similar to that of the commercial banks and the insurance industry, which have 5% coupon payment and 9% for the 12 new bonds that will be issued. There will also be a stabilization fund established as well for the industry. Sources suggest that government is set to propose some favorable terms for individual bondholders, with an announcement expected soon. The latest development implies the Finance Ministry is making headway in its negotiations with various investors on the domestic bond markets. The Ministry of Finance has set 31st January 2023 as the deadline for the Domestic Debt Exchange Program. The Chief Executive of the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission, Dr. Ishmael Aka, has said the PURC is working with the AGI and the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry to come out with a water structure that will be both beneficial to the Ghana Water Company and also to industry. And away from that, cocoa board bills were more attractive than government bonds because the credit ratings of the state-owned company was higher than that of government. Hence, the appetite for cocoa board bills, says the former president of the Ghana Association of Banks, Mr. Alhassan Adani. According to him, commercial banks should not be faulted for selling cocoa bills to customers who wanted to invest in low-risk bonds, adding nothing should distract the credibility of cocoa board bills, which were really highly rated. On Monday, the Bank of Ghana and commercial banks agreed to allow banks to use cocoa board deposits or placements to cater for retail customers who may not want a rollover of their cocoa bills. Let's have the interbank and commodity figures for the day. Thanks for watching.
Women whose stories teach us perseverance, logic, decide. To hear and share stories to encourage women and girls. Women are the real architect of society. It is they who provide the foundation of power, grace, wisdom, justice, creativity and hope. Join us live every Monday at 4 p.m. on GBC News and GTV, Wednesdays live at 4 p.m. on GBC News and a repeat on Saturdays at 4 p.m. on GBC News and Sundays at 3 p.m. also on GBC News. Women's Voice. No one can make you inferior without your consent.
On international front, rebels in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo claim to have taken the key town of Kishanga after 3 days of intense clashes with government forces. The UN-sponsored local radio Okapi was among the first to report the fall of Kishanga to the rebels. Hundreds of people fleeing the town have also been shared on social media. Local civil society groups and the UN forces in the country have condemned M23 military offensives, which have forced more than 400,000 people to flee their homes. Congolese Senator Francine Muyumba had called on Parliament to hold an extraordinary session because the country is doing very badly. The summit, held in November in neighboring Angola, had asked the M23 rebels to cease hostilities and withdraw from areas it had captured. But the rebels said they find themselves
M23 rebels on Friday began withdrawing from Kibumba, a town located near Goma, capital of Eastern Congo's North Kivu province.
On Thursday evening,
the rebels had taken Kibumba in mid-November.
For that. A Ugandan woman who broke up with a fiancé has been ordered to pay him financial damages for psychological anguish. The court in Kanungu said Richard Tumwine paid 4.9 million shillings, equivalent to $2,550 for Fortunate Kayugundi's law studies, which she must now repay plus his legal fees. Calling off their engagement after 4 years, Magistrate Asinasio Mukobi ruled that Ms. Kayukunda had broken a promise to the detriment of Mr. Tamwine. The court said it was unreasonable, a misrepresentation and a fraud for the defendant to argue that her parents told her not to marry an older man, saying she had all the opportunity to reject the plaintiff's love requests at the earliest point possible and avoid interfering with his financial obligations. It is not known if Ms. Kayukunda will appeal against the judgment. Critics say the verdict is flawed because an engagement, unlike a marriage, is not legally binding. A tropical storm followed by heavy rainfall has killed at least 16 people in Madagascar. According to the Office for Risk and Disaster Management, 17 people remain missing after tropical storm Chineso hit. 1,000 people have been displaced since the storm reached the island just over a week ago. The European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations said some 47,000 people were affected, while 13,000 houses and some 100 classrooms are damaged. Madagascar, Mozambique and the wider Southern Africa region have been hit by severe storms and cyclones in recent years. Last year, several storms in the region killed more than 100 people and displaced hundreds of thousands of others. India has approved its first nasal COVID vaccine made by Bharat Biotech, and COVAX is administered in the form of drops and stimulates an immune response in the tissues that line the nasal cavity. In 2022, China had approved an inhaled COVID vaccine administered in the form of a spray. Scientists say that nasal vaccines may offer added immunity in the lining of the nose and upper airways where COVID typically enters the body. Research teams in the UK and the US have also been investigating nasal spray vaccines. In November, India's drug regulator approved the use of Incovac as an interreligious booster dose, a booster for people who had previously received 2 doses of Covishield or Covaxin, the 2 Indian vaccines, in emergency situations among adults. In December, it was approved by the drug regulator as a primary vaccine and as a subsequent booster shot in adults. The vaccine will cost 800 rupees per dose in private hospitals and 325 rupees per dose in government hospitals and can be booked on the government's online platform. 2 doses are to be taken 28 days apart. India has administered over 2 billion COVID jabs so far. More than 70% of the Indian population has taken at least 2 doses, according to the Federal Health Ministry. Coming up is sports.
Focus. Every Wednesday at 9:05 a.m. live on GBC News, Unique 95.7, and all GBC regional stations, and on Facebook at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, and a repeat on the same day at 11 p.m. on GTV. Focus, putting the issues in perspective.
In sports, the Black Galaxies have landed on Oran, venue for Saturday's CHAN quarterfinal match against Niger.
The Black is in Constantine on Thursday evening for a 1-hour trip to Oran. They qualified from the group stages with 6 points from a possible 9 behind Madagascar, who will face Mozambique in the other quarterfinal match. The delegation made up of players, technical staff and other officials arrived in Oran at 7 p.m. on Thursday and are scheduled to hold an official training session later today, a day to the game. The game on Saturday will be live on GTV, GTV Sports Plus, Obono TV and Garden City TV, radio commentary on Unique FM and all GBC regional FM stations.
The 2022-2023 Malta Guinness Women's Premier League makes a return this weekend with match week 8 following the FIFA World Cup break. The pairings for the two zones have been announced in Accra.
The league went on break after match day 7 for the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. Action now resumes this weekend with some mouth-watering duels. In the northern zone, the Aliyu Muhammad Stadium will see Pearl Pia ladies take on Ashtown ladies. At the Bantama Ashraf Park, Dreams ladies will take on Prisons ladies. Again, at the Bantama Ashraf Park, Fabulous ladies will lock horns with Northern ladies. At the Nana Ajman Bedu Park, Kandi Soccer Academy will welcome Tamale Super Ladies. And finally, in the zone, the Ohene Ameyao Park will host the clash between Apimda Kwa ladies and Supreme ladies. In the southern zone, the Legon Presec School Park will come alive when Thunder Queens welcomes Berry ladies. At the Achimota School Park, Police ladies will tackle the Siam Sacred ladies. At the Sekendi Jandu Park, league leaders Hasakas ladies will battle Lady Strikers. At the Mats Park at Teshi, Army ladies will settle matters with soccer intellectuals, and the Latown Park will witness a duel between Rich Cities versus Faith ladies.
Legon Cities will face Bichim United at the Accra Sports Stadium later today as the Ghana Premier League returns after a one-week break for the MTN FA Cup. Here are the pairings for match day 14.
At the Owak Sports Stadium, Legon Cities will take on Bichim United. At the Aliyu Muhammad Sports Stadium, Tamale City will lock on with Bibiani Gold Stars. At the Akun Park in Takwa, Mediama AC will battle Accra Hearts of Oak. At the Accra Sports Stadium, Accra Great Olympics will take on Karela United. At the Doma Park, Eduana Stars will welcome Accra Lions. Again at the Aliyu Muhammad Stadium, RTU will take on Instratraman. At the Golden City Park, Brikum Chelsea will take on Dreams FC. In Central Sports Arena, we'll have Samatex take on King Faisal. And at the Babara Sports Stadium, Kumasi Sante Kotoko will take on Kotoku Royals.
Real Madrid came from a goal down to book their place in the semi-final stage of the ongoing Copa del Rey. They beat 10-man Atletico Madrid by 3 goals to 1. Ghana's rising musical star Black Sherif will join big names in the world's music like 50 Cent, Popcaan to perform at the Wireless Festival, a musical concert dedicated to rap and urban music. The festival will take place in London.
The Wireless Festival is a musical festival which takes place every year in London and is organized by Live Nation. It started primarily as a rock and pop festival, but in recent years it has focused on hip-hop and other urban music. Musicians like Jay-Z, Kanye West, Justin Timberlake, Rihanna, Bruno Mars and Stormzy all have performed on this platform before. This year's festival promises to be bigger and much fun as names like Block Europe, American rappers Lil Durk, Lil TJ, Popcaan and Ghana's Black Sherif will be performing in the 3-day concert at Finsbury Park, London. The musical concert takes off on July 7 and shuts down on Sunday, July 9. Legendary American rapper 50 Cent will also be part of the festival as a special guest. Barely 3 years after he surfaced in the music business, Black Sherif's fame has spread with songs topping charts in many countries and on various streaming platforms.
I know they open up to nobody. I give my heart to myself, it's only me. Trap I can see a pan from a small city.
Finally, before we go, Ghanaian actress Lydia Forson says many people are trading sex for survival, not because they want to, but because the system makes it exceptionally hard for one to trade on a righteous path. She says sometimes she feels left behind and gets sad and frustrated because she has chosen to work harder to get what she wants. She was making reference to the legal case of the CFO of First Atlantic Bank and his alleged girlfriend, who said the bank owed her a duty of care, but it didn't only fail to discharge that duty, but also allegedly used her as a bait to get wealthy men to open accounts with the bank in exchange for sex. By way of news, are live on GBC News, your news and governance channel. Major